Made it to day 13. Got my big shades on today because my eyes are tired. Maybe we'll take them off at some point to make a point during this episode. But for now I'm going to keep them on. Episode 13. Good Earth spin. Hello world. Greetings to you on your unique path. I'm not here to convince you of anything. Please do the maths, check out the research and make up your own mind. Today's episode comes with a warning, in a sense of an extra focus of awareness, really, which is today's episode is chapter 13, and this is associated with death. I associate with death and rebirth, and as is the 13 code. So I will be talking about these subjects. If you want to proceed, then feel free to proceed. But I am going to be going into... well, let's see what I go into, really. I always have notes and I try and cover as much as possible. So let's see what is revealed in episode 13. Hey. Today's dream spell is Red Planetary Moon. I perfect in order to purify. Producing flow. I seal the process of universal water with the planetary tone of manifestation. I am guided by the power of navigation. Navigators were definitely into precision. Charting the best course and all that. So that's today's energies. So let's see. Yeah, book 13. So there's number 13 there. Okay. I'm gonna give Ross Skull a wee head rub for today as well. Mystery of the Crystal Skulls. What is the mystery of the Crystal Skulls? Again, very precise. Anatomical precision in terms of the carving. Obviously there's different versions around, and different ones are done to different levels of accuracy, but that is what all my work's to do with, is precision. So, gotta give the skull a bit of a rub. There. Re-establish fields. Yeah, it's interesting. Just intuitively over the process, from casting the circle in the first place and blessing the temple to re-establishing the fields. What's all this re-establishing the fields all about? What is re-establish fields? Well, it's interesting. During this process, I mentioned in the previous episode, I was told about via a documentary about remineralizing the soil. Now, not with chemical fertilizers, but with rock dust. Which is something I've heard of before in people's soil mixtures, putting in lime, gardener's secrets, these sorts of things only people who practice the art know about. So literally, re-establish fields. Yeah. A multi-dimensional science is more robust than a linear one. Okay? So, it's literal, actually, what this magic is. I'm not just waving a wand around for fun. Yeah? There's a deep mystical intent to this work. So we do actually need to re-establish fields to grow more food naturally in harmony with nature. Re-establish fields. Cycles of death and rebirth happen every year. Natural nature grows, dies and is reborn. If you have my book, chapter 4 again, Holy Grail Time Science, the Diamond Matrix, and what I mentioned there, the current Gregorian calendar, the leap day system, lasts 400 years. And I made a little note on that page, if you see it. It also happens to be close to the average age that all empires in history have lasted. Now, this is something I was pondering when I wrote the book. I hadn't found about the ice core samples then, though, because this book was published in 2016, draft in 2015, and now we're in 2018. So it's only because I've started putting together my third book, after putting my second book on hold, because I actually need to finish the third book to complete the second one. As strange as that may sound. So only because of this have I found these ice core samples, because I was researching the cosmic cycles. It's what I came across. And tomorrow's episode I will be going into that in great detail. In my professional opinion, irrefutable proof natural time fractal matrix is more real than the Gregorian calendar, so-called science, whatever people call it. They don't really have a term for it though, do they? They just use it because that's what everybody else uses. Well, I've got a science here. So let's see what happens with day 13, because actually this is quite a big part of it, actually. Really. It is. is a big part. So I better get today's codes on the board. So back in a second. So we're back, and I've got my red pen because it's a red day, and I'm going to emphasize today that the red pen is also symbolic of the fact that when we bleed red, not our flags. So that's something that was taught to me via the 13 Moon Wisdom tradition. I think it's a point worth making. So today, this red pen, the red colour symbolises we all bleed red, not our flag. And here is some of my notes for today, and I'll just put those up on the board. So there's the first part, and today's research connects in with a gentleman called Dr. Wheeler. I'll be showing you the graphics about that when I turn the projector on later. But one of the numbers that's connected with his work is this 1545 year cycle. This is actually a number that I've already uncovered myself in my own work before I was doing these new research. So that's 1507 plus 19 plus 19 makes 1545. So 1507 plus 38, or 38 plus 7, 45. So again, when the cycles connect, when your own work aligns with other researchers, particularly if they have doctorates, you start to pay more attention, even more attention than you're already paying to this precise science that I've been working on most of my life. So, how to connect this all into greater cycles of time? Well, during my process of trying to find how all these things line up, so those numbers are also mentioned in Wheeler's work, and they're subcycles of the cycle that he found during his research. So I contemplated, how these all connect up, and I have a a spreadsheet which I've been working on, which has all the numbers and cycles there in the same place. So that's helped me to see the fractal maths of how this all connects up. It's only through relating it to various cycles that you can see the pattern. And the pattern matches up with the numbers because what I found was a ratio of 10 to 3, and the ratio is in connection with the long count, coming back to the long count again. So if you do the maths, that's what connects up. Now the plus 19s factor in again, and the plus 19s, these are very important, you know, to see the fluctuations, the precision of the fluctuations requires one to keep count of the plus 19s. How many at the ends of cycles. So the 10 to 3 also adds up to the 13, because 10 plus 3 is 13. So, you know, there's many synchronicities that have helped to bring all this work together at this period of time. This one requires me to give thanks to Dr. Wheeler. In other research, these sort of cycles are called bond cycles. In order to better express how this work connects up with my own, I'm just going to take you for a wee journey with the camera to visit one of my graphics. So back in a second. Hello everyone. So this is one of the graphics I made later on when I was finding how all the cycles fit together over many thousands of years. So this is just a wee section. Goes back to, let's see. So that says, yeah, almost 4000 BC, and then it counts backwards. And there's BC to AD. And then we're here. So the next, you could say 0 point is 2034 in this system. And then up to about 4000 AD. So 8,000 years on that graphic there. And the reason I'm showing you this is if I just move the camera here, you can see 1507 plus 19 plus 19. And there is there again. Down here, 1507 plus 19. The further back in time you go, the more accurate this number becomes. And for the Mayans, it was just the pure 1507 without the plus 19. So that's saying that the origins to the Maya calendar has to be pre-4000 BC, just according to that one graphic. Which also connects in with Dr. Wheeler's work through this number here. And here you can see as well the fluctuating 391372s, and up here you can see they do repeat. So there's periods when they're not just one and then the other. Right, so there we go. That's that important information to be included. And what does it say over here? It says, it's been scientifically proven that at least two ancient cultures separated by thousands of years of time and thousands of miles of space simultaneously discovered two key pieces of a holistic, scientifically advanced understanding of the laws of fractal time and space based on 19,000 years plus of data of a planetary nature that I myself sourced from modern astronomical computer programs. That's how I came up with this. But they came up with it before me. But I found these numbers in here after finding these numbers. I found these numbers first, and then I looked for more codes, and I just so happened to find these numbers, which are these ones over here. Right? Just so you're clear on the order of how things happened. Therefore, we can hypothesize that the Egyptians and Mayan cultures were in contact, and or were the surviving lineages of even more ancient planetary cultures that had collected data of an equally vast timescale, therefore predating the survived historical records. So there we go. Welcome to this profound work. May this world share in this gnosis in peace. So there's a bit more of the background information. It's important to express the order in which things occurred. because as we'll see tomorrow, these numbers are actually very profound numbers. They should be to our planet. You know, the Mayans and Egyptians maybe discovered them or were custodians of this wisdom from ancient times, but these are numbers that actually connect in with planetary climate cycles, particularly in relation to the northern hemisphere, of which both of those cultures were vast empires of, with their massive pyramid complexes. Yeah. So, today truly is about death and rebirth. Not just death and rebirth of the soil through better practices, but also death and rebirth of science, the rebirth of ancient science, of which I'm a custodian of, and look forward to the day I can share what I found with the ancient Mayan and Egyptian peoples. Ancient Egyptian lineages prefer, I think, sometimes Kemet rather than Egyptian. Alchemy, the land of alchemy. So, yeah, I think it's time to put on a projector. So, see you in a second. Feel free to make a cup of coffee, a cup of tea. Alright. Today's magic symbol. So here is Dr. Wheeler's Cycles of Dread, and should be able to see all these cycles here, sub-cycles, full cycle. 1550 years, roughly speaking. So this is Dr. Wheeler's research, so I'm just showing how the patterns fit, and he's not the only one. So again, back to the various changes in climate. Depending on where the source material comes from, this is drawn in various different ways. And obviously, we live on a planet, so the climate will vary. Some will vary more than others. So we're here. We're at the end here. This one says accelerated warming, which is certainly very interesting. If you look at the climatic records. As I've mentioned in a previous episode though, in the previous interglacial, it spiked at 5 degrees C. That's just the last interglacial. There's far more geological history than just the last interglacial. But just as a for instance, went to 5 last time. This one I think is from the work of a guy who has a channel called Adapt 2030. Maybe. Yeah, here we go, look. David Dubine. Adapt 2030. So what he's put in here, he's put in Chinese collapses of various dynasties, so empires essentially, collapsing when there's these minima, solar minimums. And there's a lot of folks saying that we're in the midst of one of those now. It's part of the realizations of connecting up with the codes in my book as well, because most of them, they usually just refer to it as a 400-year cycle. Again, a rounded number. I'm talking about precision. So, precisely 372 or 391. The details of that I'll be talking about tomorrow. Here's somebody else's work talking about these warmer and cooler periods. Again, rise and fall of empires, warming and cooling, and there's quite a lot of data on that one actually. So these are the cycles again that Dr. Wheeler focused on. It's 100, 170, 515, 1030. Okay. Again, it's another one to do with climate trends. Oops. And another one talking about different processes, and in this one there's an emphasis on the switch between them is actually speeding up, which is another aspect which some researchers focus upon. So there's many angles to this awareness. This one is just showing a map with Europe and Russia and talking about spring and winter wheat. Unfortunately the colours aren't coming out very cleanly, but there is a line here. And yeah, changes in climate can affect how much food we grow. That's a well-known historical fact. So, here we go, back to the wheel. Yeah, the wheel. Wheels aren't just for cars to drive around on. Cycles of time are actually very important to keep track of. Nature isn't a clock. Nature fluctuates. I was referring to before about bond cycles, so I'll just bring the camera. There we go. So bond cycles. Da-di-da-di-da. Bond. Yeah, there we go. Studies by Bond et al. Stimulated discussion, gave rise to a large number of publications. First, the term Bond cycle was used to denote an oscillation during the last ice age. There we go. Heinrich events. Gerald Bond. They postulate the existence of a cycle with an average length of 1/470 plus or minus 500 years. So, there we go. Bond cycles. That's an interesting one. Don't banks trade in bonds and stock markets trade in bonds? Or isn't there that thing 007 bond stuff as well? And these are bond cycles. And if you look at the maths, you could definitely argue that at present there's a certain psychopathic tendency among people in positions of power. That can only remain though when they keep the secrets to themselves. And again, very vague numbers here, which is what they are. Plus or minus 500 years. Really? It's just not precise enough, sorry. I recommend you go and do the maths again. And yeah, I'd recommend doing the maths again. And you're still not sure, again. Make sure. Precise. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah? Precise. Right. Okay. So, what else was I going to talk about today? Oh yeah. I was going to talk about my near-death experiences. I'm not sure if I actually want to go into it right now. I've had more than one though. This here, I don't know if you can see that. See these two little dots here? That's my second near-death experience. Yeah, I'm not really feeling like going into details. Maybe I'll make a separate video at some point where I'll go into great detail about my various near-death experiences and seeing myself in the corner of a room. Yeah, this deserves to have its own special video, I think. But I would like to introduce you to someone who I met recently in a vision before I started these videos, and I would say it's taken me this long in my life to really process what happened, what I experienced, and this is my way of trying to communicate it. That's what the vision I received. I'm going to try and make a song about this as well. Anyway, without further ado, here is... Who's that? Ah, let's shine the light on it. Yeah. Let's see. What's it say? says, Mr. or Mrs. Chompy Skullface of Doom. There you go. Face to face with the nameless. Yum yum yum, munchity crunchity. Yum yum yum. Wow, what's this? Okay, and then down here there's a wee geometry. And it says no fear. And here it says I am that I am. Oh, and these wee triangles are just slipping through Chompy's gaps in his teeth. Or her teeth. That's interesting. And then over here, what's it say over here? Ego death. Ah, okay. I'm a this, I'm a that. Okay. Bit fluffy. And look, the fluff gets all caught in the teeth. Right. Okay. Num num munchity crunchity. Okay, so what did this say to me? What did this say? Well, if you're a diamond, if you're solid, and you know, you keep your promises, and you don't mess with other people's lives, yeah, you're solid, you're a diamond. What happens to diamonds? Or maybe you're not solid, maybe you're a bit fluffy, and maybe you're a bit evil even, and you're gonna be fluff for Chompy there to chomp on. And who's Chompy? Yeah, it's a good question. In my understanding, everyone has their own one. At the end, chewing over and tasting what your life felt like after exiting the body. So we are our own Mr. or Mrs. Chompy Skullface of Doom. And yeah, I am that I am. This is a teaching. Okay? This is a teaching. It's a path of gnosis, a path of knowing. Know thyself. Yes? So this is a vision I received as someone who's experienced near-death experiences, out-of-body experiences, which would entail the natural release of DMT into my system, as the research has shown. So if you've ever wondered, here you go. Meet Chompy. Hello everyone. Yum, 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 yum. So there we go. Bit of Chompy. Chompy Skullface of Doom. Well, hope you've enjoyed another fun and exciting episode. Episode 13, Death and Rebirth. And yeah, today marks the end, the death of the old system. Because in the light of gnosis, false claims, inaccurate claims, claims which aren't precise, they won't have any right to actually be part of the discussion, not when there's a more precise science available. And that is actually the point of science, is to become more and more precise. So, any of the, people in positions of power watching. Today is the death of the old system. It's over. It's gone. So blessings. Blessings to everybody. Thank you so much for watching. If you've made it all the way through. Wow, wow. Taking the time. I will be compressing all of these videos into one video to save time. Next year, new website for the book, Galactic Tarot, write the next book, publish it, etc. And hopefully, a lot of collaboration as well. So there's a lot to look forward to, and profound times, climatic changes, always climatic changes. And periods of turbulence and more peaceful times. But how peaceful are we as a species, These things concern me. But we'll have to address those in another episode. So, for today, blessed be. Blessed be. May peace prevail. May a precise science that finds its origins in our ancestors thousands of years before people say they could have come up with such a precise science. May that science prevail so we can finally realize just how wise our ancestors actually were. Not just ignorant natives. Cyrus.org, infinitycodes.net. The truth will set us free. If it doesn't, it's not the truth. May the blessings of any positive energy, any realizations of light and love, may they be dedicated to all the mothers, sisters, and the great goddess. Oh. Ra's Skull's coming to say good evening. Good evening, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the show. Look into my eye socket. See you tomorrow.